There's a very specific noise a Lamborghini makes when it rips through freshly tilled farmland. Imagine 1,000 blenders grinding gravel while a cow bellows in protest. That was the third time that week. I stood in the barn doorway, one hand resting lazily on a rusted shovel, watching as a sparkling white Lamborghini Urus blazed right across my property like it was their private racetrack. Dust spun behind them in hot spiraling waves. My cows scattered. One of my hens flapped, off in a blind panic. A fence post shuddered and cracked under the weight of their back tire. They didn't. If anything, they hit the gas dot inside that shining car. Two women sat like they were royalty on some grand expedition. The blonde one, sweaty and shouting, leaned out of the passenger window, laughing like she owned the world. The driver, oversized, sunglasses swallowing her chubby face, chewed gum with the open-mouthed ferocity of a kid at a carnival. The infamous twins, Susan and Carol. If entitlement could roar like a V8, it would sound exactly like them. I first crossed paths with them about a month back, early Sunday morning, while repairing a stretch of wire fence deep on my land. Long before I saw the car, I felt the bass pounding through the dirt. Moments later, the blinding white Lamborghini crested the ridge, spitting gravel like it owned the place. I threw my arms up, waving them down. They actually stopped, though Susan nearly flattened one of my goats, trying to brake. "Lost, are you?" I asked, stepping up to the driver's side. Carol, smug, drenched in rhinestones, smirked. "Nope, just a shortcut to the highway. GPS brought us this way." "This is private land," I said, nodding toward the hand-painted sign they'd blown past. "You're trespassing." Susan, her pink tank top riding high, whipped out her phone, snapped a picture. "Ah, Farmer John's mad." "Carol, he's even got the pitchfork and all." Carol snorted. "It's 2025. Maybe don't build your farm in the middle of a shortcut." And with that, they tore off, tires screeching, their laughter lingering in the air like a bad smell. I figured that'd be the last of its city people lost. Bad GPS directions. But no, they came back. Again and again. Over the next few weeks, it became routine. Every few days, late afternoon, that obnoxious bass would quake my windows, and there they'd be, barreling through my back fence, scaring my livestock, waving like we were pals. Sometimes they'd even bring a crowd. One time, a convertible packed with shrieking women tailed them, honking like it was some parade. They didn't care about the animals, the crops, or the people working the land. Boundaries meant nothing to them. At first, I was patient. I tried polite notes, taped 2 wooden posts, "Private property. Please stay out. Gone in a day." Next, I chained the entrance, they cut it. Then I called the county. Left voicemails. Cornered Deputy Marks at the diner while he dunked fries into his milkshake. "Trespassing's hard to prove." He shrugged. "You'd need video or witnesses." "I am the witness," I said. He laughed helplessly. "You know how it is. Gated community types always causing a fuss." So, that was that. I was on my own. Meanwhile, the twins got bolder. One morning, I found a huge rut plowed right through my soybeans. The field, due for harvest next month, was trashed, looked like it hosted a monster truck show. And then, the cherry on top, my niece sent me there. TikTok, caption, "Shortcuts are for bad babes, slay queens only." There they were, Susan filming, Carol driving, both cackling, as they ripped across my land like it was theirs. The comments, "Oh my God, queens, run those country roads. Farmers, could never." I ground my teeth. My home, my work, my livelihood, I'd become their punchline. All because they didn't want to sit at a red light on County Road 9. They weren't just pests anymore. They were reckless. I had tried patience. I had tried peace. But patience wears thin when your life is treated like their playground. I started tracking them. Patterns emerged. Fridays and Sundays, afternoons, always in full glambic earrings, Vegas-level makeup. Susan, in bright neons. Carol, in loud animal prints. Their precious Lamborghini gleaming like a pearl. Spotless, flawless, probably never touched a dirt road. And I thought it would be tragic if something ever happened to it. Not revenge. No. This was about consequences. You plant poison ivy. You don't grow roses. I began studying the land where it drained slow, where clay sat thick under the soil. They always used the same shortcut past the Kerala natural low spot. Marshy when wet. One night, I took my old ATV out with tools, supplies, and some handy items a construction buddy helped me source. I installed sprinklers, hoses, timer switches, bags of clay. Over a few days, I built something special. When I was done, it looked like normal pasture. But step there, you'd sink. I called it the welcome mat. And then I waited. Every sound outside made my heart beat faster. Every dust cloud on the horizon sent me scrambling for my binoculars. One kept the sprinkler trigger in my back pocket at all times. 2 days, 3. On the 4th evening, I heard it, that vibrating bass, that smug roar. There they were. Susan laughing in the passenger seat, Carol in a leopard scarf grinning like she'd pulled off a heist. Headed straight for the welcome mat. I leaned against a fencepost.com, Ready? As their tires hit the edge of my field, I whispered, "Showtime." They crested the hill like they were grand performers. Susan waved both arms out the window, probably already filming, mocking me again. I didn't move. The trap lay just ahead, perfectly hidden. Carol honked twice. Scattering birds, Susan yelled, "Look who's watching. Want a ride? Farmer John." 30 yards. I could see every rhinestone on Susan's sunglasses, every smear of purple lipstick. 20 yards. My thumb hovered over the button. I'd rigged the sprinklers to flood the pit instantly. 15. Susan shouted something snarky. 10. I pressed the button, a soft click, a faint hiss, and then dashed nothing. At first, the Lamborghini rolled forward like always. The front tires crossed smoothly. Then, that sound wet squelching, subtle. The rear wheels dipped half an inch, then more. Carol's hands jerked the wheel. The car bobbed, the tires spun. Mud sprayed high behind them. Susan's laughter cut off. Carol panicked. She floored it. That sealed their fate. The rear wheels dug deep. The clay and manure flung skyward, coating the undercarriage. The car lurched forward, then stopped. It sank, not quickly. Slowly, painfully. One side dipped, flawless white paint splattered brown. The Lamborghini groaned as the earth swallowed it, inch by inch. Susan shrieked. Carol barked orders. "Shut up, I'm trying to." Too late. Susan threw open the door and stepped out right into the muck. Both legs vanished to the shins in one ugly step. She slipped, tumbled forward, face first into the slime. Her scream muffled in mud. She scrambled, losing her sandal and whatever pride she had left. Carol hesitated, staring at the swamp surrounding her, then decided to clamber out the driver's window instead. I just leaned on my post, watching as my masterpiece did exactly what it was built to do. That didn't help her at all. She braced a foot against the hood for balance, but the slick runoff had made it too slippery. Her foot slipped out from under her, and she crashed hard onto her side in the pit. She rolled, cursed, and then stopped. Cold, when she realized exactly where she'd landed, right in a fresh pile of cow manure I had carefully mixed into the clay for, let's say, authenticity. That's when the phones appeared. Not mine, not Susan's, but the ones held by the friends who had followed them in a second car, parked a little ways off the trail. 5 women, dressed in sundresses and oversized hats, nails perfectly manicured, all with a nose for chaos. One of them pointed her phone at the disaster and laughed so hard she could barely breathe. "Oh my God, Susan, you look like a chocolate-covered marshmallow." Another chimed in, already typing. "This is definitely going on TikTok, right?" Now Susan spun around, raging, "Stop filming." But they didn't. They only moved in closer. Carol finally dragged herself upright. Hair stuck in thick clumps to the side of her face. Mascara streaked like rivers down her cheeks. She was panting, fists balled up. And that's when her eyes finally landed on me, still leaning casually against the fence post, arms crossed, not moving an inch. "You did this," she screamed. I lifted a brow. "You mean, built a pasture?" Susan waded forward, finger dripping with mud as she pointed it at me. "You'll pay for this, you hillbilly maniac. This is a /still $20,000 vehicle." I stayed calm. "Feel free to try towing it out. Last time something got stuck there. It took a crane." One of the women behind her burst out laughing. Susan stumbled toward me, slipped again, and landed flat on her backside with a sickening squelch. Carol was too busy screaming threats at me to help her. "I'll sue you," Carol howled. "You think you're smart. You think this is funny." I took a deep breath, exhaled slowly, then for good measure, pulled out my phone. They both froze. "You said I'd need proof, didn't you?" I muttered to no one in particular. "Well, Deputy Marks, if you're watching this later, here's your trespassing evidence, your property destruction, and bonus your verbal threats." Susan dragged her foot through the sludge toward the fence. "Delete that right now." "Sure," I shrugged. "Right after you delete my fences, my crops, and all the topsoil you destroyed." Their so-called friends were now full on, streaming the whole thing. One of them, who'd already gone viral for catching a duck, was practically drooling over this content. "Oh my God," Carol just face-planted. "Look at her knees." And then, just as the sisters stood there, ankle-deep in humiliation, a new sound rolled across the field, not sirens, but air horns. A tow truck crested the same ridge they'd blasted over, moving slow, driver sipping coffee, clearly enjoying the scene. I'd made the call an hour before. He pulled up to the edge, leaned out the window, and called, "Y'all stuck." Susan, dripping mud from her chin, snapped, "Get this car out now." He scratched his beard, not without a waiver. "This ground's a liability. Your insurance cover off-road recovery." Carol blinked in disbelief. "What? This isn't off-road?" The driver just shrugged. "Sure don't look like a road." There they stood, waist-deep in their own bad choices, while I quietly walked back to my barn, sipped my iced tea, and watched their sparkling white Lamborghini, now a lovely shade of brown half-buried, like a forgotten relic of arrogance. By the time the tow driver laid out the boards, Susan was barking at him. Carol was checking her reflection in her muddy phone. but the damage was done. This was a story the town would never forget. The next morning, the air was calm. No roaring engines, no blasting bass, just the soft hum of cicadas and a light breeze through the leaves. I stood on my porch, coffee in hand, staring at the field. Where the Lamborghini had sunk like a luxury battleship, the mud had dried now, cracked and hardened over the deep ruts like the land itself had fossilized their mistake. In a small town, news travels fast. By noon, half the county had seen the video. One of their own friends had posted the whole disaster on TikTok titled "Karen's Luxury Shortcut Goes Wrong. Farmer Serves a Muddy Lesson." It exploded over 3 million views on the first day. By night, it made the local news. The footage was priceless. Susan face planting in manure, Carol slipping off the hood, the Lamborghini sinking like it owed Mother Earth a debt. Someone even edited a slow-motion replay with dramatic violin music. I didn't earn a cent from it, but I didn't need to. That kind of perfect karma was reward enough. The town hadn't laughed that hard in years. People started stopping by not to gawk, but to shake my hand. Some guy from 2 counties over dropped off a case of beer with a note. "Thanks for doing what we all wish we could." Even my neighbor, Harold, who hadn't cracked a smile since the Clinton era, laughed so hard he wheezed, "Told ya can't polish stupid." But not everything was laughs. Susan and Carol weren't finished. 2 days later, a neatly sealed envelope landed in my mailbox, hand-delivered by a courier in a suit 2 sizes too small. Inside, a lawsuit. They were coming after me for intentional property damage, public humiliation, and emotional trauma. The letter was written like a bad soap opera. Phrases like psychological warfare, booby-trapped terrain, and malicious intent to embarrass covered every inch. They even included blurry screenshots of them, covered in mud, scowling like angry raccoons. I almost choked on my sandwich, but I wasn't worried. I had video, time-stamped, clear as day, with visible no trespassing signs in the background. I had voicemails, emails to the HOA, and neighbors ready to back me up. Best part, their own friend uploaded the video voluntarily, publicly. So I called Vic, my high school buddy turned lawyer, the same one I once pulled out of a ditch on Christmas Eve. Vic read the complaint, then laughed so hard he had to sit down. "They strolled onto your land, busted your fence, ignored every warning, and fell into their own mess. Let 'em try. We'll counter." And that's what we did. We filed trespassing, property damage, livestock endangerment, harassment, plus an invoice for fence repairs, land restoration, and wasted time. 1 week later, their case vanished. Not because they wanted to drop it, but because their lawyer, some bored suburban guy who probably thought a John Deere was a football player, took one look and knew it would explode in the media. No apology ever came, just silence. But the video kept spreading. YouTube channels picked it up for karma compilations. Late-night shows joked about the Lamborghini that learned respect. Out of nowhere, my dusty farm page started gaining followers. 1,000 the first week, 10,000 soon after. All I posted was a single photo, a muddy tire track with the caption, "Sometimes the earth bites back." The comments flooded in. "You're a legend, Farmer Gandalf. Teach me your ways. This is my life goal." Level of petty. But I wasn't being petty. I was just being practical. The momentum carried me. I made another video, just me, standing by what the internet now called the bog of Karen, explaining how to legally protect your land and maintain proper drainage. Dry humor, no drama, just facts. It went viral. Again. Boot companies sent me free gear. A hose brand offered me a sponsorship. A small cable show invited me to film a reality miniseries. I passed on that. I'm not here for fame. I'm just a man with fences and a lesson that settled itself loud and clear. The best part, the world saw what I saw. 2 women who believed they were untouchable, humbled by mud, pride, and bad decisions. Susan and Carol. I haven't seen the Lamborghini since months later. I caught them at the grocery store. I barely recognized them. No makeup, no sparkle, no designer bags, just 2 women behind oversized sunglasses pushing a cart, pretending not to see me. They were driving a dull gray Kia Soul. Carol caught my eye. And for just a moment, I saw something new. Maybe humility, maybe fear. Susan mumbled something under her breath and turned away. I nodded once, respectful, walked past, whistling some stories don't need sequels. Still, the sprinkler system, it's buried in that same patch of pasture. Just in case, and every so often, I refresh the signs. Private property. Trespassers will be embarrassed. The field's quiet again. The animals are settled. The fences stand tall. The only tracks on my soil now. Tractor treads and boot prints that belong. They say karma takes time, but sometimes, all it really needs is a little water, a little clay, and just the right push. If you enjoyed this muddy dose of karma, go ahead and hit that like button, smash subscribe, and share with a friend. Got your own Karen story? Drop it in the comments. And remember, never mess with farmers.